Protect your sons and daughters. It's deadly by design. The battle lines are drawn. People start to turn. Chaos is in the air. The time's about to burn. If we stay here, we die. There's just too many guns. Our only choice is clear. Baby, we're on the road. There's something in the water. Fill it up my mind. Protect your sons and daughters. It's deadly by design. There's something in the water. It's taking all control. Removing all my filters. Going in anymore. There's something in the water. It's filling up my mind. Protect your sons and daughters. It's deadly by design. There's something in the water. It's taking all control. Removing all my filters. Becoming an animal.
Breaking news.
Welcome to the Tulsa Music Stream. And now, your hosts, Scott, Jana, and Nine. You wanted the dirt on Tulsa. You got it.
Go for it, Scott.
Hey everybody, this is Tulsa Music Stream, and this is our
what is this, 76th?
74.
74th episode. Awesome.
We lose track.
Yeah. We'll be joined live with Bruce Kulick here coming up shortly. Make sure you share on your Facebook pages this awesome stream. Also, we'll be on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. And we're also on all the podcast platforms like Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and Apple Podcasts, and so many more. So make sure you listen to our podcast. That'd be awesome. Thank you.
It is true. We do have Bruce here. I think he's having a little bit of trouble hearing us. Can you hear us any better now at all? I've cranked up our audio on this end. Can you hear us?
Nope.
Okay.
I could kind of hear you, but it's not.
It's not great.
Right.
Okay, I'm trying to crank up my gain on this end to see if you can hear it any
It's
better.
It's not gain. Something's not right. I'm telling you.
Huh. Is it quiet?
I have my volume full up on my iPhone.
Okay.
And I have the speaker part up.
Okay.
And you guys sound like you're not on a speaker. Let me try one more setting on my phone.
Sure, no problem.
You know, it's a live show.
It is a live show. We can see him. I'm not going to put him on screen yet until we get the audio thing figured out.
And we can see you guys too. So.
Yeah. I do. It looks like everything's coming through on this end. I don't have anything muted. I'm actually kind of peaking on this end, so I'm not understanding why you can't hear too great.
Wow.
Anything? Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Can you hear me at all, or just very faintly?
It's faint.
Just faint.
I'm going to log out.
Okay.
Let's try it again.
Okay, sounds good. We'll let you back in here in just a second.
All right, there you go.
All right. So we'll be joined back with Bruce Kulick, famous Kiss guitarist, and he plays with Grand Funk Railroad all right.
Check 1 2. I'm trying to figure out. Hey, should we be seeing lights here on the board?
Hey.
Check 1 2. Is anything?
We need to take 5.
Anything muted? I'll tell you what, guys.
2 1 2.
Check 2. Check 2. Okay. Well, this is a worst case scenario for us right here.
This is a real stinker.
Check 2. Don't we normally see those go?
Not all the time.
I don't.
no.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
Well, there's a dim light on there, but I don't.
Well, yeah.
Like, I get a loud voice and it's barely registering.
Right. All right. Well, bear with us, guys. Hang in there. Tell you what, we'll be back in just a second.
Yeah,
we'll get this figured
there.
out. Hang loose for us just a second, guys. We'll be right back, okay? Okay, we're back on screen here. It looks like Bruce is attempting to reconnect. I think he's having some difficulties connecting on his end. It looks like the people in the chat room could hear both of us. They could hear us and Bruce. So we will be patient and let him try to get this sorted out. We don't want to lose you guys. I know a lot of you are tuning in. He has sent us some amazing pictures of his rig, of his guitars, his amps. If we get him back on here, I might just say, don't worry about being able to hear us. You just take the show, and then we'll just have him give a rundown. Hey, buddy, can you hear us any better at all?
I hear you perfectly.
All right.
Thank God. I mean, good things come to those who wait. Well, that was
Awesome.
That is what sometimes happens when you go live. Now I'm going to put you on screen. There you are.
Great.
Okay, that was
Let me
worth
just
the wait.
adjust my thing. I always tell my wife it's real funny when we rely so much on technology. And lots of times a restart is the magic. Okay, so
It's
so
true.
weird, yeah.
We
and
kind
I
of
made sure
figured.
the Zoom app was open just in
Yeah.
case. And then all of a sudden I heard you guys. I was like, yeah,
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, we're so honored to have you here with the Tulsa Music Stream. We're all big
I had
fans.
everything so set too. Hang on a second, and then I had to grab my phone 14 ways sideways. All right,
Okay.
let me. It's looking okay though, and
Okay.
thank you all for your patience.
Sure,
Hey.
yeah,
who
of
were
course.
watching with the? Did you
No
have one of those
problem.
special screens that go technical difficulties?
We actually did. It said be right back. So everything
Okay.
is covered and good, and we're good. We're going to shake that off and pretend like
Great.
it didn't even happen. But first
didn't
of
happen.
all,
It did.
let me
No,
let
it
me
did not.
say welcome to the legendary Bruce Kulick. Welcome to Tulsa Music Stream. We are
Thank
so
you.
thrilled
Thank
to
you.
have you. Thanks for being such a cool guy to work with over the emails the
course.
last several days. I want to introduce you to my co-hosts here. In the middle is Nine. Down there is Scott. Two of the biggest fans of yours that I know.
Cool.
We're so
Excellent.
pumped to get into this. Thank you for the cool pictures.
Yeah.
Scott has a lead-off question for you. Go for it.
I wanted
Okay.
to know if you are still chasing that perfect tone.
I've never really been one of the guys that went down the rabbit hole of experimenting too much. I know there's guys. I'm not criticizing it. The people who I've heard Eddie Van Halen was notorious for no pickup was good enough when he wanted to put his name on it, and I knew some people that was working with him. Of course, he figured something out and offered it to the public. But I tell this to a lot of people. I really do feel that the quality of the music that musicians create is more in your hands and coming from that inner muse, your ability to be creative and share your talent with people, and not as much about every little nuance of gear. That being said, I'm pretty blessed that I can create a good tone from a guitar as long as it's not a piece of garbage, and that's where I think it really lies.
Sure. Well, let's start off with the guitars. We have some different topics to cover. We're going to get some guitars, some amps, some pedal boards. But you sent me this really amazing picture. This looks like your current setup where you are right now, and there is a handful
It
of
is, yeah.
absolutely beautiful guitars there. Tell us what we're looking at here.
All right. So I was really thrilled about this interview, and again, thank you for having me on this.
Of course.
Thank you.
And I don't go live on Facebook much. I do some auction type things on a Kiss site. That's a lot of fun, but this is wonderful. And as you know, I do have a passion for guitars and gear and equipment since I've been touring and performing for so many years. So I have a good relationship with Vintage Guitar Magazine. You guys are probably familiar with that.
Yeah.
Not all the Kiss fans are. Yeah, and I've been featured in quite a few issues. One of the issues over the pandemic was a catch up with me and see what was going on. And I lovingly set up my room and pulled out quite a few interesting and varied guitars. Now, we don't have that luxury tonight because I'm only going to have that much of the screen.
Sure.
I do want people to realize, first of all, there was articles in VG magazine. A lot of this stuff's on my website, brucekulick.com. And a lot of guitars that some people might be asking about or looking for, there you go, are I've done videos that are on my brucekulick.com
Yes,
site,
those are
or
great
rather the
videos, too.
YouTube channel.
Love those
Bruce Kulick.
videos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And so I know, like, just in our comments when I was letting people know about tonight, people were saying like, oh, they're already guessing some of the guitars and asking about some of the instruments. And there's no way we could cover this, especially in this forum. But I think we can be very practical about some of the instruments that I have here to share, but more really the practicality and then those pictures that I've wanted to share about the pedal boards and things like that. So some people guessed those guitars right. Some of them they didn't. But either way, obviously for VG magazine, I was going to show a jazz body or two. And I was pretty impressed how some people were calling out things about some of the guitars. So that's pretty cool.
Right. Now, so the guitars that are in this particular picture, would you say these are probably some of your favorites, and that's why they're featured in this picture?
I really think a lot of them were various different elements of my collection. So like, let's say the Sunburst one on the couch there on the corner right that I'm looking at, that was like a Kiss Horizon, ESP Horizon guitar used during the Kiss years. The Mockingbird I actually got later, but BC Riches are very popular. Mm-hmm. There's a jazz body to the left, ES 225 that I named after my dad, Harry. He's really old, 57. You see a little bit of the radioactive BC Rich that I use for Crazy Nights in the other corner. Then right next to me is one of my BK ESP signature models, which was sort of short-lived. I'm holding an SG Special. That's a very cool guitar. My first special electric. An Epiphone is right next to that. An Epiphone Riviera, kind of hard to see. And then there's a 175 to the outer part, which I'll use like when I do Christmas songs with my wife and stuff like that. Right. So again, for VG magazine, very varied. I wanted everyone to know I'm into the metal guitars, I'm into the classic guitars, and I'm into some jazz bodies. So, and they look nice, you know what I mean?
Oh, they're all beautiful. Yeah.
So
with and I had a lot of fun, doing that layout for them.
Sure.
So with all of these guitars, your endorsements, I bet probably was a headache for them because you would go from any type of guitar. So, I mean, how many endorsements did you get with guitars? I mean, did you just stick with the ESP or did you switch around or?
I'm really guilty of, some artists, when you think of a guitar hero like Slash, you think of a Les Paul, even though there's pictures of him with a cool BC Rich, right?
Right.
But he was very consistent with that one instrument, and it served him well. It was perfect in that amazing, hugely successful band. Ace is another one, very famous for Les Pauls, different colors, and some of them do amazing things like smoke and shoot rockets. And
which
things.
makes it even cooler when you see them playing something else, like the old pictures of Ace playing like I think it was a Destroyer or yeah. So
even a Epiphone, I've seen him with a Dwight or some very oddball guitars.
Yeah. Didn't he have like a red Fender?
Maybe, I think it was a Coronet, that red one that you might be thinking.
That is, you're right, Bruce. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, but again, for me, joining Kiss, first of all, I joined during the Floyd Rose era, the whammy bar. You got to compete with what's going on.
Well, that's what they wanted at the time too, Gene and Paul. Yeah.
Yes. And that brings me. It's great that you're showing the beautiful banana guitar, which I do have here that I'll be playing a little bit, and showing everyone. But since you showed the picture, it's here.
Man,
it's a great guitar.
Put that on screen.
So for the Kiss gigs and my biggest thing of my career, those years, I was fooling around with a lot of different models. When you talk about endorsements, I was real excited to get involved with ESP because I had some friends that started working there in New York, and they were providing some instruments that I thought were really good for my hand and what I was hoping to, just present myself with. And I found lots of interesting, they were called those M1 models, the bolt-on kind of super strat guitars, very similar really to Eddie's guitars, the Frankenstein guitars. So I wasn't, even though I had a lot of offers for different things, I'm pretty loyal. A lot of my fans know that. I won't just jump from one thing into another. So I've been really loyal for a long time with ESP guitars, and they've served me well. Although they know I'll perform with a different brand, a PRS or whatever. So let's say, look at that. There's my old Les Paul in the front in my right hand. There's the banana guitar in front of me.
It's like a nice Telecaster there too.
Yeah. Now the Tele is actually an ESP. You see
what
I mean? Because they made great Fender copies. There's a Charvel that I got rid of. Animalized tour, the first tour I had that. The radioactive BC Rich is upside down behind by the little TV over there. Let's not forget about Ringo in the corner there. Okay?
Nice.
And a funny story. the pink guitar on the lounge chair, which is such an embarrassing looking piece of furniture. I won it in like a game show, I think, or somebody gave it to me, whatever. But that pink guitar is a Jackson, and Tommy Thayer sold it to me when Black and Blue was opening for Kiss. Isn't that funny?
Wow. That's amazing.
Anyway. That was 88, by the way. I should let everybody know.
I figured you would have a flat screen back then before any of us.
Right.
No, not in 88. And I had a small condo in West Hollywood. And when I look back at some of that stuff, it was pretty funny to see the gear, to see the TVs and stuff. But anyway. So anyway, with the
which one is your favorite?
What's my favorite?
Yeah, the guitar.
Do you mean like your desert island guitar?
Yes.
Kind of thing?
Yes, sure.
Yeah, I have two, okay, because one foot's in each world, shall I say. One would be the old Les Paul that you saw by my leg there. That was a 53 conversion, which appeared, my brother owned it first, and I bought it from him, and it was on Paul Stanley's record that my brother did. Oh, it was maybe even on something else from Kiss. I'm not really sure. But when I bought it and had it refinished, I used it with Kiss. I record with it. It's just got the mojo. It was on the cover of that Vintage Guitar magazine in 2010. So that's one very special instrument, because a Les Paul is just covers a lot of bases with a guitar person. But the Banana is the other one, okay? Because the Banana guitar, I don't think I could have been such a standout performer with some of the Kiss albums without the Banana guitar.
Right.
Okay, and when I plug it in, I'll explain it a little more.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds
but
great.
I want to wait because I want to do it while we're talking about the pedals, because it's going to make sense with how I do what I do.
Sure.
Okay?
Let's move on. Tell me why the Egnator is your go-to for home recording. What do you love about this little guy?
Yeah, I had to show you that. Well, first of all, I do live in a lovely home in Las Vegas, but I don't want to plug in a 100-watt Marshall head and a half stack. Okay, I have that gear available to me. No way. It's not important, especially when you're putting, for me, I put one beautiful dynamic blue microphone that was hooked, an engineer friend of mine turned me on to, on one speaker. So I only need a smaller amp. That happens to be a 20-watt head. You look up Rebel 20 Egnator and the reviews, everyone always just goes crazy about what a great amp it is. It's very versatile, makes a lot of different sounds. So if someone's asking me to do a session for them that includes classic rock or even Kiss rock, I can get all the sounds out of that head. And I love that it's only 20 watts. It's not going to destroy my 112 cabinet, and it's not going to make neighbors go like, oh, Bruce is recording again. You get what I mean? So it works perfectly for me.
Right.
Although I did want to show one pedal that I have found during all this. Since the pandemic, I've been doing a lot of recording at home. But because of that, I started to experiment with a few things. So this pedal by Friedman. Friedman makes great amps, and he used to repair a lot of things for me in pedal boards. But this pedal called the Golden Pearl, it's very subtle. And I find it makes that amp like just really come to life on certain things that I need it to do. So this is a bargain, this pedal, and plug that into any amp and fool around with some of the dials from the gain to the voicing or the high cut, and you're really creating like a more versatile amp for yourself.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. Okay?
Let's move to this next picture you sent me. Now this is quite an array here. I'm sure the stuffed bunny rabbit adds a good tone there for sure. But what are we looking at here, and what's that mound of pedals there on the floor?
I was excited to share that, and I'm not even sure if I ever stuck it in one of the videos. You can see it's dated April 13th, 93.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
So it was at my home in West Hollywood. I was a big fan of the Distortion Plus pedals. I don't use a lot of them recently. I had a few repaired recently by my local guy because they were a certain sound. But that's an old Les Paul Jr. that I owned at the time. I think it's with a good friend of mine now. But there's a little Les Paul amp there that's still in the room right near me here, and including some of those rare vintage tweeds, a Gibson vintage amp, and the one that's stripped actually sounds amazing, the one that has no tweed on it, or far left. And I did record a little bit with Kiss with some of those little amps. Wow. I don't talk about those amps much, so that's kind of why I wanted to share that photo. They've gone up crazy in value, and they are valuable in the studio. You're not going to tour with that damn thing unless you're doing a much different kind of music.
Right.
But the old Fender amps, without them, probably Marshalls wouldn't have been created, as we know. All right.
Right.
And some people could say before that, if it wasn't for the war, tube equipment and stuff like that wouldn't have developed the same way either. But, World War II I'm talking about. Okay.
Right.
But, I find all those amps have their purpose. I have recorded with the smallest one, with the little Champ, the Tweed Champ. I have one of those in the home too. So, but again, I get mostly asked to do things that are more rock or where I'm sounding more aggressive. So that's why I find the Unedited thing to really work well for me.
When we were young, listening to you guys crank out, the Animalize, the all the 80s cool stuff, the Tears Are Falling, we would have to learn on harmony guitars and Metal Masters, distortion pedals, and Gorilla amps.
And then we graduated to the PV Renown.
That's right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, you guys, you're probably aware of my Hot Licks video from '86.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
If you look at the amp there, that Arlen Roth, who was the creator of that, which was brilliant, he's an excellent player, but not really a hard rock guy at all. And he got hip to, well, this music's popular. Let me bring out, let me expose this to everybody. And he had a great way of filming everyone, and you could give the secrets, put the tab in. I don't know what the hell the amp was that I plugged into, but it sounded like me, right? So that's another point of that a lot of it is the player. Okay. I think I'm hiding my, I shouldn't be hiding it, but here's another Kiss guitar back here.
Oh, look at
Yeah.
A radioactive
right.
Beautiful
Guitar.
Hey,
anyway.
while we're talking about tone, I want to pick your brain real quick. So,
Sure.
in the 90s, the early 90s, for some reason, and this sound made a lot of metal bands' careers, Pantera being one of them, but we got into this whole scooped mid thing. And, I guess that's worked for some, but for me, I tried it and I was like, okay, but then as you realize the importance of mid-range. Will you explain to people why, when you're looking for a good hard rock metal guitar tone, why mid-range is so important?
Well, and I think I know what you were referring to, which was a sound I never went for because the bands I was in wasn't that. But the only way I could relate to it is I would go into a Guitar Center to try an amp or something, and I plug in, I'm going like, what the hell? And then I look at the controls, and
it's a V.
Invariably some tone or button thing was pushed that I'm like, I would never do it like that. But again, that's a different application of that amp. Okay. Right. I am not the guy to ask about that scoop mid. I know where I like my tone to be. I always use my ear. Even though the dials do help, I've been very consistent with Marshall 900 heads, and they're not actually the most favorite of Marshall heads, but I know how to use them. And the one photo I didn't share with you was how I set those heads. And most of the time, with all the years with Grand Funk, has always been 900 series. Kiss from about the Hot in the Shade on were 900 heads. I don't have any treble or presence up. They're all the way down. I just use bass and middle all the way up. Now, the 2000 series from Marshall had much more bottom end. That was a whole nother game. But I've had some people go like, how do you have that set? And then when I show it to them, they're kind of like, oh, I wouldn't think to do that. But again, that works for me. It doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. Yeah. But I think tone from an amp depends on the band, the guitarist, or what kind of gear. I find people use some pedals to get all their tones and all. And, there's so many ways to create a sound, and it's really up to the creator to figure that out. Yeah. But I know it works for me, and I do always, and I'm very willing to share it. It's not like some magic trick that I'm trying to, hide from the world.
It's all in the wrist, right?
Well, a lot of it I do feel is in your hand. I do, yeah. And I have jammed with people like Slash, where I've told students and people at like the Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, you could buy Slash's guitar and Slash's Marshall head, and you're not going to sound like Slash necessarily. But I've handed my guitars to other people, and they sound exactly like them. Steve Lukather, when I was recording BK3, brought a guitar in the wrong key. He was playing in 440. My track was in E flat, a half step down. So he gladly played my ESP Vintage Plus, a beautiful guitar. And of course, it didn't sound like me. It sounded like Steve Lukather. Okay. And we traded off in that song. Yeah. At times, I didn't always get something from him in sections that I thought would be best for him.
Right.
So I just punched in on the same guitar. It sounded like me. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Right.
I am telling you, these hands and your touch and that inner, the thing I can't describe, what makes music come out of a person, those things are the uniqueness of guitar playing and musicians, which is why it's such a special thing. You know,
Sure.
Just a quick question, and then we'll hook that baby up.
Yeah.
How many guitars do you bring with Grand Funk as opposed when you were with Kiss? Is there a big difference?
Not really, only because I'm really blessed. Even though Grand Funk doesn't do monthly tours where we're covering the country, city to city, we have backline, bringing gear. And we've been very fortunate with a company called Jonas Productions that since about 2002 or 3, consistently that company provides trucks for gears that will meet us anywhere in America. That's great. So at one point we had 3 trucks before the pandemic, and I had 5 or 6 guitars on each rig and pedal boards. So you see what I mean? I'm having a lot of fun. I can switch, and figure out what guitar I want for what part of the set. Now, that being said, after the pandemic, they lost the Vegas, backline facility. So then there's only 2. And one of the pictures that I shared, that you'll share, is the pedal board that's on one of those rigs, but they're almost exactly the same. But I have like 6 guitars on both rigs. Now with Kiss, I don't think I used more than 6 either in a night.
Wow.
Okay. But I can do a gig with 1 guitar. If I had to, I could. Mm-hmm. And there's been corporate gigs and one-offs that I've had to do. This is like one of my go-to like one-off kind of things, because this would be like a main guitar. It's just like to me a upgraded SG kind of thing, because the body's a little thicker. I love SGs, don't get me wrong, and I own quite a few. But the point is, these ESPs, the Viper series, is excellent. It's off
that gold hardware. That gold hardware on that ivory color is really pretty.
So pretty.
I love it too. Although it didn't go over that well for a while, it was a little too vintage for the ESP crowd. To me, it reminds me of an old SG, right?
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
I mean? But then that's what they were going for. But it's really great to have the different guitars to switch between. But if I had to do one, I could do a whole show with this and maybe have a backup like a Strat. That's for Grand Funk, because some of the songs aren't as aggressive. But I rock out with the guitars with them. Always an ESP, usually a PRS. Sometimes one of the main rigs has a great Les Paul on it, a 335. Sometimes I've used a Nash guitar, a Tele type thing. So I'm just blessed by not having to take physically 6 guitars with me.
Now, let me ask you this, because I'm a bass player. With all of those guitars, you've got to have some cool basses too.
I do. And I played bass on some of the Kiss albums.
I remember.
I got to let go of a few of the basses, I think, because it's gotten hard for me to play bass.
You probably got some
But
Fenders.
I have a
I can take
66 P bass.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, sunburst. A 68 Olympic white.
Oh, that's sweet.
That one's amazing. It looks like urine, though. The white changed.
Yeah, they changed color, right? Yeah.
A Rickenbacker 4001. That's great, like a 76 Jet Glow.
Nice.
I own EB3s. I love that because Cream and Jack Bruce was my hero. So
I had to ask.
Besides Clapton,
I had to ask. I knew you had some. Yeah.
I got some. Yeah.
Well, let's move to your pedals, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we're having a blast with you here. So when you sent me these pictures, I was a little shocked, because I was expecting something like more extensive, which your other one is, and we'll get to that here in a second. But this is a very meat and potatoes pedal board. Tell us about this one.
I thought it was important. I think you guys are aware of my career enough to know about all those performances on the Kiss cruise. Okay. For the past, 4 or 5 years, I've been on each Kiss cruise performing Kiss material. Now that I do not want to bring a giant or a bigger board or something heavy. That I could fit in my luggage, believe it or not. I built it. There's a fantastic shop in LA that's Tour Supply. They sell the boards. Then there's places where you could look and see, okay, where would the Velcro go? What could I get away with? What's the minimal thing I can do? So put that shot back up, and I just want to explain it all.
Sure.
So you'll see something like all those pedals in the bigger Grand Funk one. But the point is, there's a delay. Okay. I like the analog delay. That happens to be the Boss Waza one. I have quite a few of the vintage ones, but I find Probably a newer pedal will be a little more, resistant to the wear and tear of what happens, resilient. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The chorus, again, like a Waza pedal, but that's like kind of like a CE1 Boss pedal. I love the Boss pedals. I think they're really solid.
Yes.
That wah just it has the right sound. There's nothing special about it. Dunlop wah, and then a Waza SD1, and all those pedals, a delay, a chorus, and an overdrive and a wah are a very integral part of my live playing and in a sense recording.
Do you roll any reverb into your sound from the amp head itself, or do you run it pretty dry? Okay.
Always dry, and I do like on one of the maybe two of the cruises, I knew I needed a longer delay for some songs, so I had the digital delay sitting on the outside of that. Okay. But you'll see the digital delay and the analog delay on the Grand Funk, board, and I can't travel with that and bring it on the cruise. It's just too hard.
For outdoor shows like the cruises and outdoor festivals and all those things that you've played, even throughout the years with Kiss, how hard was it for you to find like a good sound? I mean, with the wind and blowing it around, does it just drive you crazy?
Well, let me tell you something more important about Kiss. I mean, a lot of the gigs were arenas and indoors. Yeah. I had no pedals. No pedals. Now, why? Think about it. How am I going to run around the stage?
Right.
Sure.
You had someone
be somewhere. Watch any video. I'm all over the place. Now, I did have some help from my backline, meaning my roadie guy knew, the solo. Let's bring up the preamp. Right when I'm in the center of the stage for that solo.
You had to have a smart guy back there ready with the cues.
When you're touring arenas, you always have a smart guy there. He's your lifeline, okay?
Right,
And all the bands rely on someone to do some magic behind the scenes, Even guys will freak out. I don't have one properly set up in the M1 this white one that I used to use a lot with it, but I couldn't go to a wah-wah either. So how would I do it on Holy Sound, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I had something called a Tonex, which was a push-pull pot, and when you pull it out, it was kind of like when you move a wah-wah. So I would pull it out to a certain sound, and there was a wah-wah tone. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't have any pedals, but again, on the few times when I needed, and I think it's real important for me to share this, one of the most exciting pedals I ever used with Kiss live was minimal, but it was very important. Star Spangled Banner, which is on a Live 3. Yep. You will hear a Univibe, okay? And that Univibe, it was an encore song. So now my roadie guy, he was able to unplug and plug into an actual, like the Hendrix model, the Univox one, the ones that are very rare and expensive now. And he plugged me into that, and now I'm doing the Star Spangled Banner with that plugged in, but not on stage. It's off stage. Okay.
Right.
So that's how I did effects.
I'm sorry. Did you want to discuss this? Because I know people are dying to hear you play a few licks. Did you want to discuss this a little further? Do it.
And let me just explain that one, that the only thing different there, you see the Waza analog delay, you see a Washburn chorus. I am a nut over that model. Let me go back to me for a second.
Yeah, sure.
I own quite a few of them, and I just gifted one to a buddy of mine, Joe McGinnis, because he's a talented guy, works with Chris Jericho and others. Cool. So these are great pedals. They're just like an 80s, 90s. I don't know. They just sound great, okay?
Right.
They do. Now, my Boss one that's in my pedal board, in fact, the Cruise pedal board is right by my feet. That's why I sent you pictures, Jana, because I'm not moving my camera around.
Sure, I got you.
Things up, but it's right in front of me, so I can imitate those sounds. That wah-wah is not much different than the wah-wah on that Cruise pedal board that I'm going to play. The SD one is similar. That one was a little modified one by Keeley. They're all about the same. I like the SD ones. I know Bonamassa loves to talk about the Ibanez 808s and the TS9s. Those are fantastic. Okay. I just got used to using these SD1s. I've had a lot of the Japan models, hence my MIJ over there, right? I just like them. And you can be subtle with them, and they can be very important. That's your step on that and go. And then all of a sudden your solo takes off, right?
Right.
And then the other two pedals in there, go back to the pedal board, which I don't have right now. That's a Univibe because I do Star Spangled Banner with Grand Funk every night. It's a great part of the show for me. So I have different ones. I like that Microvibe. It's not a bad one, Voodoo Labs. And then there's a tuner, of course, a mute tuner. And then in the lower right, remember earlier I mentioned sometimes I do need a longer delay. That is part of my Grand Funk show. I don't have it on on the cruise board. I don't always need it, but if I did, it would just be on the outside of the board. And I highly recommend, I want everyone to take a note who have pedal boards. I got a hard lesson this past 6 months. A proper power conditioner is very valuable when you're hooking up pedals like that.
Okay.
So that one spot one's a great one. I'm not telling you what brand you got to get, but don't rely on one plug necessarily or batteries. You know, those power bricks, as they're called, really important. Okay.
Right.
There you go.
You mentioned Kiss Alive 3.
Yep.
There wasn't many overdubs for you on that, was there?
No, but I will let everyone know now. Thanks for bringing it up. You know, it's going to be 30 years in May for Alive 3. Isn't that
That's crazy,
exciting?
man. That's crazy.
It is crazy. Time flies.
Yeah.
And I, like my usual habits, I'm going to put together an incredible video. I got a talented guy, Andrew, who's going to help me like I did for Crazy Nights. And we're going to put out the ultimate.
I love those. I love those videos.
Yeah, thank you. So
Yeah.
I'm going to look forward, I look forward to sharing that with everybody. And I
like the one when you share your old clothing. I wish more people would do that. This is
I don't know if I
my.
have much of
I love those. Those are so interesting to me. And if I can say too about to go back to the Kiss cruise, you know, normally I wouldn't want to hear somebody cover Kiss songs, but God, I've watched them all, and they're incredible. You pull out the coolest songs, and Todd Kern's job, his vocal job, is not an easy job on those songs, and he kills them, man. And they're just so fun to watch. What you're going to pull out of the hat next, and so it's been a really rewarding thing for me, and it's been a love relationship with the fans that I could celebrate my era, and then occasionally even cheat a little. I just saw Sebastian Bach at Brent Fitz's birthday party here in LA on Monday. And we were chatting about the cruise because he was on one of the cruises back in October, November. And then he goes, the oath! And he's going, because I opened the show with the oath, you know what I mean? I'm like, why not? You know what I mean? They don't do it. And it's a great song. And I have Todd Kearns to play it. And what a great band. That was real special. One of the unplugged performances. Those moments are cool for Kiss fans like us. It's like, wow, that's really, really a cool moment.
Yeah,
that's great.
That was amazing when we all played together. You know, I have to say that I don't know if what will happen with another cruise, and I'm not sure if Kiss does either. I know that when Doc talked about it recently, he couldn't really give any details. But anybody that's been on any of those cruises know how special they were. I'm hoping they'll be able to keep it special somehow, and we'll see what happens in 24. But I've absolutely loved the fact that I was so involved and I got to share my career. And if anyone's watching those videos on YouTube or on my channel, I put up quite a few from one of the theater gigs we did at the Stardust on the boat. The pedal board that I have in front of me here is what I was using. So the magic is just knowing how to use it. Okay. Otherwise there's nothing magical about it. Right.
Well, what do you want to play for us tonight?
I love Tears Are Falling.
Do you know? Yeah.
And you know, in that
Right,
hey Bruce, do you know
like
Tears Are Falling?
I'm holding this guitar. Yeah. What about it?
the solo. Now the video, you do a little hand trick, over the fretboard trick.
That's fake.
And
he said it's fake.
And I've seen you live here in Tulsa. And that was one of the first times I got to see you was on the Asylum tour here in Tulsa,
right?
And with Wasp, and it was an amazing show.
Yeah.
And of course I looked for the over the fretboard.
You're not gonna find it because I can't play that riff like that.
I remember you saying that was fake. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I used to see Gene do things where he's like this with his bass, and he's playing, right? And his hands are like, nowhere near, and he's going, he's doing all these guys. So it's a video. I can do whatever I want. I'm not actually playing, So I took that liberty. It was a mimic of one of my very influential bosses, shall I say, and Gene knew how to entertain, so I figured, well, I can get away with that. I'll do it like that.
Sure.
You got to take a shower in that video too.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Pretty crazy.
I mean, I'm really happy about some of those moments because honestly, it was something that would be interesting in the video because I was the new guy. I did something for one of the Animalized videos. We had a live one, I guess, later on.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thrills in the Night.
Yeah.
But to be featured in Who Wants to Be Lonely, I'm falling backwards into the water. That was with with my multi-swirl. This is one of the reissue ones that I put out. But all those videos, if I could get any screen time I win, okay? Because you know Gene and Paul
Sure,
are just
absolutely.
such entertainers, and they really, you know, we know that the shots are going to be largely them. So I was happy to get wet to be seen in the video.
Hilarious.
I'll play the Tears Are Falling thing in a minute, but I wanted to show this guitar I'm holding is got 2 pickups, unlike some of the others, you know. But what's great about, and again, because this is more like a you know, double pickup Gibson kind of guitar. So now that's the clean. I mean, I'm sorry, hang on. So this is going to be the. By the way, on the floor here, right on the side, off camera, is just a Fender Super Champ XD. I happen to like these amps. They changed it later on. I like the earlier model. That's just a straight, you know, one of their presets, and I like it. It kind of sounds like just a crunchy Marshall, but nothing crazy.
You know what sucks, Bruce? That's not translating too well across the air right now. I don't know if we're getting like an overdriven
If
signal.
I make it louder, will you hear it?
Probably. Give it a shot.
Okay.
Kinda. We kinda hear it. It sounds kind of warbly and washed out. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the problem with you know, a Zoom type of thing. And my YouTube things are also difficult. Well, I mean, anything live is difficult. When I do a Skype lesson, it's a little challenging.
Sure.
But again, let me explain a little bit about what I tend to do. And since sonically we're challenged, I think I can describe it though. Okay, so right there was just a little bit of. In other words, I don't use really any effects from the amp. That happened to still had some delay on it. But if I solo, I like to go to the analog delay, that Boss pedal. Okay.
Right.
If I need the guitar to have that kind of dreamy sound, like it could be just a picking part. I wonder if anything clean would sound like anything. I'm not sure. Like this.
Yeah. Some of that came through.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, probably a cleaner sound works, but you can kind of hear that it's a little wavy and stuff, and, you know, that kind of thing. So I'll use the chorus for dreamy type things. I don't like to use it on solos. Very rarely do I, but there could be a part in a song where I have to put it on to give an effect or something. Mm-hmm. But the overdrive, that SD1 pedal, is really, that's that, you step on that and that little bit of gain that if the sound guy didn't catch, oh, it's the lead guitar, you know, that's you've got it covered, and it gives a little more of that mid-range, which you mentioned earlier, Dana, right? It gives a little more of that just that go, and you can sustain more, obviously. So if I go for that, and I got to put it back to the distortion channel.
Sure.
But,
Maybe if you tried to turn it down a little bit, it would come through better.
Yeah, I think that sucks that we can't hear that.
it's on, okay? If it's off, it's just not going to kind of sustain as well, you know. But obviously, if we're challenged with the sound, you're not going to use
That wasn't too bad.
Right.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't too bad. But trust me about that it's going to be, I think low chords are going to wobble more than the leads. All right, so since I can't really show off, but a bass pickup would give you that, you know, I'll switch in songs, get a more throaty sound, you know.
Damn.
And that's just the overdrive, overdrive and that would overlay.
Yeah.
Shoot. We're just not getting much of that. I'm sorry to tell you.
I just went to F sharp. I don't know why, but I'm. Now let me show you guys one important thing. A lot of people aren't always aware of the best way to use a wah-wah. I always distort the wah, and that's the way I describe it. So your pedal order is very important. Do you guys play? Do you use pedals?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the guitar player.
Okay, so Jana, follow me on this and tell me if you agree. For me, I want to plug into the distortion pedal. Then I want to distort the wah, so that would be next. If you don't use a wah, then forget the wah, okay? After that, I want to modulate the sound, like a phaser or a chorus. And then the very last thing in my chain, before I go to the amp, would be any kind of delay. And that's the orders that work for me, and I think it makes sense. But there's a huge difference between distorting a wah and a wah, working with a overdrive pedal. So don't do that. Okay. And I'll prove it. Okay. Because if you want to hear like an unholy kind of sound, well, first of all, let me plug in the banana guitar because that's is beastie.
Bring out the banana.
I got to tell you, about 1% of what you're playing is actually coming through. I don't know if it's just overdriving the mic and muting it out, but I
don't know.
But we enjoy watching you play.
Yeah, but you can see me play, and all the stuff. I have great content of me using these instruments on my on the YouTube channel. You know, Bruce Kulick, and on some things you can find it through my website too.
Sure.
So I don't know if this will translate, but.
Okay.
Yeah, it even cuts you out.
Nothing. Yeah, we're not getting it. I don't know why.
Not getting anything. All right. Well, next time we'll figure out a different way to do something like
go.
this.
But they can watch the videos.
Have you done anything live with music before, or it's just been speaking?
Well, we've done things with live music, and it usually comes through. So I don't know if it's just it's like it's overdriving it, and then it's just muting you out completely. So I don't know what's up with that.
I wanted to talk about your top 10 guitar players that have influenced you, and I'm going to go from 10 to 1. 10 being David Gilmour, 9 Les Paul, Steve Howe, Eddie Van Halen at 7, Leslie West of Mountain is 6, Brian May of Queen is 5, Jimmy Page at 4, and your top 3 is Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, and coming in at number 1 is Jimi Hendrix.
I'm proud of him. Now again, people were like all over the place when I posted that, and it went live with Guitar World, and I think they didn't understand if you read the title, it was the ones that influenced me. I love so many other players that I respect and I totally enjoyed as well, but these were the ones that for some reason I wanted to study and get into and then understand what they did, and every time I did that, I tend to absorb something really valuable from my career. Okay. And the riff in Tears Are Falling, I attributed that to Steve Howe, and people didn't understand, but Steve used to do these wide kind of like high, low, open string type things. And that riff is kind of like an interpretation of doing something a little bit left field like Steve Howe would do in Yes. So I know the Kiss connection didn't seem obvious to anyone, but I explained it.
Yeah.
I want to share a quick thing with you, and maybe you can back me up on this. This is kind of for the guitar players out there who are learning. I remember being really young. I was probably, I was 12 when I started, and I remember the first thing you want to do when you're young is just learn how to shred. You just want to shred, shred. And then you mature and grow as a player, and you start realizing, wow, sometimes one note bent just the right way or sustained just the right way means more than anything. And I'm going to tell you one point in my quote-unquote playing career, the three of us were involved in a project where we covered some Kiss songs. We actually laid them down, and we covered the song that your brother played on, Tonight You Belong to Me, and I got the solo. Yep. I listened to it. I thought, well, that's not going to be too hard. And then when I actually sat down and tried to learn it, he had so much emotion, and to replicate that is difficult. And I mean, I think when you craft the perfect solo, it is not always shred. I mean, sometimes it's one note that means everything.
No, I mean, and I should give a shout out to my brother, because some people were like, how come Bob wasn't on there? And Bob was an influence in the sense, though, in a different way. It wasn't only about, it was more about the access that he gave me to certain bands like Cream and Hendrix and Jeff Beck and all. Yeah. We enjoyed all that together. He didn't care for Yes, and he didn't care for like a King Crimson or things like that, where I got sometimes into some progressive things. I also got into jazz too, hence even loving Les Paul, you know what I mean? But I got to admit that Bob had an economy of notes and a ferocity. He was ferocious with how his emotion would, he'd get into certain notes. And one of the hardest things for me to do, the year after he passed away, that was in May 2020, and then the next cruise, I was able to do, we did a tribute for Bob and put together a medley, me and the guys.
Yeah, I remember.
And some of the solos that I had to learn of my brothers were some of the most challenging things I ever did. And I appreciate your comment, Jana. And now I know it. I could see how many times did I go through Goodbye and figure out every little riff and everything that he did. And he did it really with Bob had an economy and a power in his playing. I remember Blackie Lawless being so distraught when Bob passed away, and he was a bit part of that Crimson Idol album, and I know that Blackie was a huge fan. So it was really sad, to lose his him, of course, him as a brother, but as a guitarist, it was really he made his mark, though. I mean, I love that all these recordings are there.
Certainly.
Yep.
You've been so gracious. Guys, do you have anything else for Bruce? I don't want to cut us off too early, but I don't want to keep him longer than he can be on.
We have lots of...
we got 3 more hours in this. Come on, what are you talking about?
We have lots of people...
I could show you a few more guitars without playing them. Okay?
Yeah, let's see
them.
them.
A few more here. If that's
I wanted to talk about your March Madness.
The Kiss bracket.
Your Kiss bracket.
There were some interesting picks.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm a little prejudiced to my era too, and I love a lot of classic Kiss songs. There's something about all the elements in God Gave Rock and Roll that I've always loved, and it's become an anthem for any show that I do because it's like the feel-good anthem of my era.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't even think about the fact that it was, in a sense, a cover song, and that would like piss off a lot of the Kiss fans,
Right.
But it's just such a great song, and it was put together. You can't tell me it sounds anything like the Argent version at all. Okay.
No, it does not. No.
And so it is uniquely Kiss. I love the trading off of the vocals by Paul and Gene.
That's like old school Kiss.
Yeah, the modulation. And then I was able to, along with Bob Ezrin, who's such a brilliant producer, create this really melodic solo in my mind, a la Brian May Queen, with harmonies and different things. And then the quiet part, the emotions of that song are just brilliant. Now, I got to say, I mean, it's not fair to try to pick one, but that's what came out on my March Madness. That's all.
Hey, I got a question. So when you joined up with Kiss, did they want you to play the old songs the way Ace played them? Because I know it seems like at one point they just let you come up with kind of get wild with the solos and make them your own more than I think when they first had you in the band. Am I correct?
No, I think you got it right the first time. Nobody asked me, Paul, when I got that call after they sent during the Animalized tour, and they sent Mark home and wanted me to be the guitar player. He was very clear with me that he wanted me to be that guy who could cover, the whammy bar stuff and be like kind of more that turbocharged lead guitar player that Eddie Van Halen laid out that was so important on the rock scene. And then he wanted me to have one foot in the classic rock. So I knew what that meant. And I never got the edict, shall I say, play it note for note when we do the vintage songs. But if you really listen, I'm interpreting how I would do Ace without having to be Ace.
Right.
And Ace
you can hear that.
Admires what I've done. Right. Now, I can't take it away from Tommy when he's the spaceman in this group that is portraying a bigger than life superhero looking band.
Right.
That Ace, he's representing what Ace was as the spaceman. So he's playing those riffs. He's probably playing them more consistently than Ace, but nobody could take anything away from
you're
Ace's brilliance and how he created those solos. And some of the hardest things was some of the simple things that Ace did. These like stuttering riffs and just what an incredible, unique vocabulary. But who is Ace's biggest influence?
Jimmy Page, right?
And
Jeff Beck, Jimi Hendrix,
Eric Clapton.
Yeah, probably, but the other three, and who are on my list, okay? You get it?
Yeah.
We were influenced by the same people.
Right, and I think people of age, people of like, our era, we're born in the early 70s, so it's guys like Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen and George Lynch and Warren DeMartini. So, I get it. You guys are close. You guys like right. Ace and you guys are closer in age, and those guys were Jimi Hendrix and Clapton and yeah. So, yeah.
Well, totally each generation is going to get enamored by what they're turned on to, and we understand that.
Right.
But just don't forget, and I bet some of you out there don't know, Eddie Van Halen was incredible, and he's on my list. But the point is, I know that he learned a lot about lead playing from Eric Clapton, right. And there's a really early interview he did in the Van Halen days where he played Crossroads note for note for this girl. but it's not Clapton. It's Eddie Van Halen doing it note for note, and it was brilliant. And that is why Eddie, he added certain speed and dexterity on the lead guitar that's unbelievable. But the soul and heart of a blues man was always in there, like what he did on that Crossroads.
That's a good description.
What was some of your favorite producers that you worked with, and what were some of the ones that were a little bit more difficult?
Well, in the very beginning, actually, Gene and Paul kind of were doing all the stuff, and I get it. That made sense. But I was kind of perked up a bit when I heard Ron Nevison was going to do it, but Ron had a very particular point of view of it.
Crazy
we didn't
Nights,
actually... well, he was trying to have hits, and he was going to polish the band, and he did a lot of things on
lots
Crazy
of keyboards.
Nights there were keyboards and some samples and things. But the lead guitar was always front and center, that, which was nice. But I'll tell you a quick story. There was just a thing where, you would do a couple of tracks, and then sometimes you'd punch in between the tracks. Of course, that's the way most people can do recording, and obviously you could do it on Pro Tools and whatever you're working on now. But back in the tape days, it was a little more complicated because you had to anticipate the punch in and everything on a tape machine.
Yeah.
But he didn't hear. I'd said, let's flip over to the other track, right there. I was pointing it out, and he didn't understand it. And then he said, well, why don't you do it? I'm not, I wasn't the engineer. It was very challenging. It was a very scary moment, but I did know where I wanted it to switch. And then I knew how to do the anticipation. You guys are probably too young to know that, but you got to anticipate a little bit on those machines back then. And I did it, and it came out great. And they said, why didn't you tell me that in the first place? So, you know what I mean? And I remember the great part of the story was Paul pulling me aside later. He goes he really respects you. This is the way he works. Don't take it personally. And I appreciated that. Paul said that. And he did say some really great things to Gene and Paul about me that I got a nice raise after that album. So that was nice.
Oh, good.
Rod, okay. But sometimes you do have to fight for it. You know what I mean? You got to get into it. Now, Bob Ezrin's the one that made the biggest influence on me. Just a total mad scientist, genius. I loved him. And in that Revenge celebration that I did, I talked quite a bit about Bob and that. He was just look at the albums he was involved with, and it's no mystery that he's got a certain approach. Not only the Kiss records, of course, that he did quite a bit of amazing things for, but Pink Floyd and so on. Okay, so I learned a lot from Bob. I really loved that.
Right on.
Awesome.
Very cool. Bruce, thank you so much for your time. I do want to put this up. Guys, check out brucekulick.com. You can find out everything that he has going on there at that site. And by all means, go check out Grand Funk Railroad. You guys are doing a handful of dates this year, correct?
Yeah, we're actually on a little break only because we had one of the guys had a slight injury. Everything's fine. Nobody's in the hospital, but we have to take a little time off. So we're back out on the road in June. Top of June, okay, and that word got out there. And during this break, I could do things like this, Gianna. How long have you been asking me to do your show?
We bug a
listen,
lot.
Here's the thing. I think over the years, I remember I messaged you or something. You looked at it, but you didn't respond.
Yeah.
Before me, he did the same thing. So it took the pretty woman to get through to you.
He didn't
I
even
didn't know she was a woman until I found her Facebook.
Okay,
stuff.
hey,
to me,
third
it sounds
time
like
was
a Finnish
charm.
metalhead, Gianna.
Right.
I don't
Now,
Yana.
You recently played
Yana,
at the Hard Rock Casino with Grand Funk not too long ago. And,
Right.
of course, you've played in Tulsa multiple times with Kiss.
Yes.
Do you have any memories of Tulsa playing?
I just know. First of all, that's a great venue, and I really do like it. And I think it's a good rock city. There's no doubt. Oklahoma. We have some more things coming, I believe, in Oklahoma this year. But I have to say that it's really grown the appreciation of Grand Funk. A lot of the fans didn't always. My Kiss fans didn't completely connect the dots, but Eric came recently when we played here in Las Vegas, and he just reminded me that not only is the band terrific, but he just absolutely loves Don Brewer, and he knows how talented he is, and he's such a great performer and drummer and singer. So I've really been blessed to have this gig now for over 20 years.
I was going to
It's really
ask you, how long has it been? 20 years.
20.
Wow.
Almost 22 now, actually.
Wow.
So it's really crazy,
Amazing.
But I get out there to play. I'm not gone for months on end. It's mostly weekend dates, But I get to really play my heart out, and the fans have really been supportive. And there's no Kiss production. It's there might be a backdrop,
Sure.
and that's it. It's five guys on stage playing good music, So check it out. Anybody watching it hasn't seen the show, it's really worth checking it out. And I get to rock out every song. I got a solo, and I got a fun guitar to play. So you won't be sorry, for sure.
That's
Plus,
awesome.
you'll recognize some of the songs, I assure you.
Sure, absolutely.
Of course.
You had you have an extensive career. I mean, going from Michael Bolton, Meatloaf, Kiss, Union, of course, Grand Funk, and many others. You've had an incredible career, and we're blessed and honored that you came on our show, and we thank you for that, man.
Yes.
And I was front row. Wasp.
It's really weird, Bruce, when you're growing up. You came here in 1986 for the first time. We were probably 15 or 16. You never think down the road we're going to be interviewing that guy. That's so weird, to grow up and do that. So we appreciate that a lot,
Sure.
man.
Well, and some of the people that I play with too, like Brent and Zach and Todd.
Oh yeah, exactly.
They
exactly.
grew up complete Kiss freaks, So I might have been the first lead guitar. Chris Jericho, who does a lot of great music stuff with Fozzy and Quarantine, and of course he's a superstar wrestler.
Yeah, right.
He just loves my era. Everything about that era of Kiss means everything to him, and the fact that I'm friends with him and I've done some guitar work with him, it's really a thrill. But all that connections, it's all wonderful. I'm blessed with the career. I appreciate your time. I hope I helped some people explain some things. And if anyone's got questions, it's real easy to ask on my website. There's a way to email me or on Facebook. And I have too many guitars. If anyone's looking for a certain instrument, reach out, because I'm starting to get a little loose with the instrument list.
You've got the apron, right?
I don't have as many basses, but
I
I
know,
got a lot
man.
of guitars.
I know.
We know what you're doing. You're clearing out your guitars to make room for pancakes, right?
More pancakes
More
in the
pancakes.
house. The kitchen can never get big enough. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, check out the recipes on that site. My wife and I had a lot of fun with that during the pandemic, and we're always fooling around with things in the kitchen too. Why not?
That's very
I love
cool.
her.
You
And
have the
food is
apron.
love.
Yep.
Yeah. There's aprons on the website. It's kind of funny, but if Kiss could sell a casket, I guess I could sell an apron.
You
right?
can do
Absolutely.
anything you want. You are a gem. Thank you for being such a gentleman and so kind to us
Thank
tonight.
you. All right.
Bruce Kulick, thank you again. Tulsa
Thanks
Music
again,
Thank you
Stream.
so
guys.
much, Bruce.
All right.
Have a great night, my friend.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right on.
Amazing.
Cool.
There you go. 1 hour is Bruce Kulick.
I'm really sorry the guitar playing didn't come through. That is another lesson learned.
But the voice did, so that's what
yeah,
matters.
we got that, and that was wonderful. And
And I am sure to all the reviewers in the chat room that he will come back and probably look at all of your comments,
Yeah.
and he will probably reply and probably answer a lot of them. We're gonna send him a link and everything, and of course he'll share the probably YouTube one, and I'm sure he'll come in here and answer some of your questions. It was so fast. I mean, the time was just like
Right.
ticking away.
There was a lot of you in here, though, and we thank you guys for joining us for sure.
yeah, I tell you, that's what happened when a guy of his stature shares the stream on his page. That's why we've had such a great turnout tonight. And you guys probably did learn a lot, even if you're not a player. It's interesting to dig inside the details of what makes these guys have their rock and roll sound, and you got to see a firsthand picture of that tonight. So
For sure.
make sure you guys follow him at brucekulick.com. What a great guy. What a great guest. We are so pleased that he joined us tonight. Thank you guys for watching.
For sure.
If you came in halfway through and you're like, dang, I missed it, you can always see the replay. As a matter of fact, that is a good segue. Let me, if I can find it, let's talk about where you can see this show. Well, that's the podcast stuff. You can, where is it? I always lose this screen.
Well, you can listen to us on Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeart, Apple Podcasts,
Apple
Google,
Podcasts, and Google.
Podcasts, and there's so many others. You just
That's the audio portion, but if you guys actually want to watch this replay, this is what I was looking for. You can see it on our Facebook page, YouTube. Please subscribe to the Tulsa Music Stream YouTube page and hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. And we also are on Twitter and Twitch. Just look for Tulsa Music Stream on there. Let's talk about what we have coming up. I mean, we are full steam ahead. Things are really going great here in just a few days. Monday.
Hit like and hit the notification bells, all that stuff, man. We need you guys.
Yes, sir.
Coming up this Monday, April 3rd at 8 p.m. Central, another legend, Doug Pinnick of King's X, will be joining us live to talk about their most recent album and their entire career. That is going to be stellar. And then we got 2 more behind that. Tuesday, April 8th at 8 p.m. Central, Steve Lynch of Autograph. Wednesday, April 26th at 8 p.m. Central, James Kotak of Kingdom Come and Scorpions. Absolutely going to be amazing. Teresa, would you like to say hello? Let's put you on. Let's unmute her mic. Hit number 4 for me.
4.
There she is. What did you think? What's your opinion of, and get right up on that mic so we can hear you good. What's your opinion of Bruce Kulick's interview?
I thought it was incredible. Now, I don't know dick about gear, but to see you guys talk to him,
Drooling.
and just light up.
Yeah,
I mean,
we were drooling.
It was fun to watch you guys watch him, talk to you.
Okay.
A little bit of drooling going on. I'm not going to lie.
A little bit.
But
A little bit.
It was fantastic. So
A little bit.
Happy
Well, that
for
was
you guys.
fun. I mean, I was, of course, upset that his guitar tone wasn't coming through.
Yeah.
But
That sucked.
someone gave out a comment about there was a setting in Zoom or something.
here's the thing. I
Daniel
saw that
Roberts'
comment. Thank you for making that. I didn't want to go in there and jack something up and then lose his vocal audio. So I had to pick the lesser of two evils. But we're goofy musicians. We are not professional podcasters, so we're learning things all the time.
I'm a bass player.
Lesson learned tonight. We're going to go see what we need to do to make sure people's guitars can come
and
through.
I appreciate all you guys sending stars and everything. That always helps us with any kind of gear that we need. Any, of course, new headphones, anything. We just bought a new light and
Yes.
an extra camera.
Hooker.
So we
No.
get at the other camera view. Did you get to use that at all?
You know what? No, I was.
You always miss that one.
Hey, I had a little bit to juggle tonight, Mister.
Mr. Sister.
What's funny
Don't
is
make me
we'll,
fire you.
We'll like spend hours on it, to get the
Here.
everything all perfect.
There, are you happy?
There you go.
I mean, that just made everybody's viewing enjoyment so much better,
Isn't it?
right?
Isn't it?
See the double chin? That's good stuff, man. Anyway, I need to talk about our sponsors because they are an important part of what we do. And as Scott said, they help us.
That's why we drive Maseratis.
Right. They help us keep things up and running. This guy, he's top notch. Dustin Little at Okie PC. If you guys have any IT needs, your computer's broken, Bruce Kulick's guitar is not coming through on Zoom, this is the guy to call for help.
Yep.
918-640-0892 or email Dustin at okiepc.com. DEB Concerts, ramping up for another Rocklahoma this year. You guys make sure you check out Doug Burgess's stage. It is the D&B processing stage at the Roadhouse out there at Rocklahoma. I need y'all's help. I need you to get on our Facebook page, Tulsa Music Stream. Go to the section at the top. It's on the left, and it's our website. If you click on our website, it takes you to our online store, and you can get one of these beautiful short sleeve, long sleeve, tank, or hoodies, and sport the Tulsa Music Stream name around your town, and that would help us out. Also want to welcome back GregShipman.com as a sponsor to this show. We appreciate the Shipmans and their help. Psychomo Filmworks, thank you for the amazing video. If you guys are a band or a business and you need a video made, hit Psych Up and he will help you out. Guys, I'm tired.
Yeah.
you-
Let's
are
watch
you
some
tired?
baseball. What I thought you wanted to do baseball.
Oh, the Padres.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys so much, and without you guys, this seriously, it does not work. So glad you
true.
guys are here.
I mean, it works. We just would rather have you watching us.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
This literally does not work.
You're borrowing that from our Dallas Cowboys friend. Without you guys, this literally does not work. That's his catchphrase. Now we're gonna get sued. Great. Anyway,
Copyright infringement.
hey, we'll see you guys.
there goes the Maseratis.
See you guys back on here this
Share
Monday.
our stream.
Yeah, share it. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Please.
SOS.
We're not above begging. Love you guys. See you back here Monday night at 8 p.m. for Doug Pinnick of King's X. Thanks for watching Tulsa Music Stream. Thanks, Bruce Kulick. Good night.
Good night.